Patreon Q&A number 71. I want to thank all 110 of my aesthetically pleasing patrons. Guys, you know I love you by now, and honestly, your support helps me way more than you know. And to everyone else listening, there's going to be spoilers in these questions and answers, so tread carefully. Juris D asks, hey Z, what do you think would happen if Beefcake ate a ton of monster cells? So surprisingly, this is actually a pretty popular question. And it's, it's difficult to say for sure, but let's get into it because, so the Biceps King serum thing that Furukizu gave to Marugori Beefcake, what was that exactly? Was it kind of like a synthetic analog to the monster cells possibly? Like, did it force Beefcake to have a monstrification but go to 1000% or something and just overloaded him and just made him as big as a skyscraper, but still had the same fundamentals as a typical monsterization would be like? Because he looks like a monster, and he had a transformation similar to that of a monster. It's just really the size and strength just far exceeded what we typically saw. So, I assume that Furukizu probably has a similar grasp of biology and stuff like that Dr. Genius has, and we saw that Dr. Genius was obviously able to create monsters as well. So, is it all tied together? Is Furukizu just tapping into the inherent potential that humans seem to have of transforming into monsters, and then they just amplified that? It's so that goes into would the monster cells even work? Because the monster cells obviously transform you into a monster and then make you as powerful as your potential allows you to become. So did Furukizu already do that with Biceps King? And if he didn't, then the monster cells, would it even work? I mean, eating a ton of them, it really wouldn't make a difference. I know it did with Bakuzan, but in the end it was kind of just he was an outlier, or at least that's the rules of it. So did he already reach his potential with the Biceps King, meaning that even if the monster cells did transform him a little more into more of a monstery state, would they push his power more? Now, if they did, then, if they could, and these were two different transformations that we're comparing here, then yeah, he would get bigger, I guess, and then he would maybe grow more arms possibly, and then his power would increase for sure. He would go to above dragon, because I think he's already minimum high dragon in power at least, and then I guess his speed would increase too, because he probably is lacking there, and his durability would go up even more. He would just be one of the strongest monsters ever if the monster cells were to take effect. But if I'm just taking a guess, I would say that they probably wouldn't affect him given the variables of the Biceps King serum that we know about. Joe D asks, hey Z, just join the Patreon to support your awesome channel. Keep up the great work. Hey, thanks, Joe. My question, if One Punch Man did a 2-year time skip like One Piece, what do you think would happen if all the major players, would the Atomic Disciples be S-class? Would Bang be more or less powerful? Would Puri Puri Prisoner get a new sweater? It's okay to include spoilers in your answer. Cheers. So I think that at least E-Iron would be in the S-class at this point. I think he's definitely projected to be so. And then maybe Okama Itachi and Bushido will join him shortly after or something like that. They definitely have the potential as well. And then I guess Mizuki, Gearspur, and Neostar would probably be S-class at that point too. And then, of course, we got to throw Glasses in there. For all we know, Glasses might be the new Blast by that time, considering, it took around 3 years or maybe less, somewhere around there for Saitama to remove his limiter. And if Glasses stays on the same trajectory, then I guess he could do the same. But as for Puri Puri Prisoner, he would definitely get a new sweater, because in that amount of time he would have a lot of new boyfriends, new prisoners in Smelly Lid. And then Bang would probably become less powerful, given, how he's aging, and it's definitely implied that he has regressed in power over the years, especially the more damage and injuries that he accumulates. And he would probably be way more so retired than he is now. He would probably just stop fighting monsters altogether by that point, I assume. He probably wouldn't care as much anymore. And then as for just the world in general, the S-class is really debatable if it would still be alive at that point, because it seems like it's about to crumble at any point. Given the developments of what Child Emperor has discovered and how the Neo Heroes are going after them allegedly, and how My Mask wants to abolish the S-class. King's Queen asks, what's up? Dr. Bufoy knew about a good deal of the most powerful cadres, and his solution was just to carpet bomb the Monster Association. Does this mean that he thinks he could wipe out the entire Monster Association, also killing Orochi, Elder Centipede, etc.? Keep up the great content, Big Z. So thank you, King's Queen, and I think that Bufoy probably assumed that it would be the best method of attack. Maybe he doesn't necessarily think that it would ultimately take all of them out, but it would just be better than having to fight them all individually. Because Dr. Bufoy, he kind of just takes a guess at things, because he was always constantly saying that he's doing a weapons test. When he went against the Meteor, when he went against the Elder Centipede, he was this is a weapons test. So I guess he's just testing to see what would happen, because he really does have a pragmatic approach to things. And honestly, carpet bombing the Monster Association probably would have been the best method of attack. Yeah, you would have killed Narinki's son in the process, and it's unfortunate, but you know, like, he's like super pragmatic, almost lawfully evil in his approach to things. So maybe he just thinks that like it would do a pretty good job of getting most of them killed, possibly, you know, like imploding or destroying the Monster Association, having it collapse on itself. But in the end, I mean, I think he thinks that maybe some of them will survive, and we know for sure as readers they would, because when Tatsumaki pulled the base out of the ground, they all survived pretty much no problem. And of course, it's not the same as dropping a carpet bomb on it, but I think that he would just kind of see what would happen and just assume that that's the best method of attack, and then act accordingly as to the results of what would happen. Steven asks, Bo Voret, webcomic chapter 119 was peak One Punch Man. It wasn't until 80 minutes later that I noticed that there was 2 chapters out. You know what would really take this over the top? If one creates a monster that uses psychological warfare and targets a My Mask, pushing him over the edge to cause him to betray humanity, perhaps the clown monster will be his arch nemesis, like a certain other clown villain. Is there hope for my thoughts? Have a good week, dude. So it's possible that he might use psychological warfare. I mean, we already kind of saw that with Fura Ugly, because that was in the Fura Ugly's description of his fighting style. He uses like basically psychological warfare, to put it in another way. I forget the exact verbatim description of his powers, but it was something like that. Like, he attacks you physically and mentally. So that right there kind of lines up with it. And My Mask was already falling victim to that. So maybe the clown monster does something like that, because you know clowns really rely on the fear factor, at least in lore and mythology and stuff like that. When we see like evil clowns, which I'm this guy definitely is. This guy will definitely test Mai for sure, and he might cause him to betray humanity. He might be like, look, screw it, man, I'm a monster, look how much fun I'm having, screw humanity, you know, in less words. And then My Master's like, hey, you're right, you know what, screw it, why am I trying to hold on to my humanity, you know, like, it's all futile in the end. And then like, this is a launch pad for My Mask to become evil. And I also think there's a possibility that the Neo Heroes might show up at this point to stop the clown guy, and then like they link up with a Mai possibly. Tim asks, hey, I love your videos and I appreciate the ton of work that you put into the daily upload. Hey, thanks, Tim, I really appreciate it. One question, are you going to buy the One Punch Man game? Are you maybe showing some gameplay if you play, because I think it might be interesting. Have a nice day. So absolutely, Tim, I'm going to buy the hell out of that game, and I'm going to play the hell out of it as well. I'm going to be streaming it a couple times a week on the channel, and then I'll be compressing like the best highlights of the streams, I suppose, into like their own individual videos. I'll try to make them as entertaining as possible, but I am very, very much excited for this game, and I can't wait to play it. I know that it has misreceptions on it and whatnot. Maybe it seems broken in the beta. That's fine. I'm not like a game snob or anything like that. I'm just really appreciative that the One Punch Man game is coming out as all, and as long as it's not completely broken, I'm sure I'll enjoy it and get a whole bunch of playtime out of it. But yeah, check out my video game video playlists. Check out like my my One Piece World Seeker video. That's something that I want to make in the future, like a couple more videos like that with the One Punch Man game. Mellow asks, hello, Shonen, out of the students in Class 1A, who do you think has the most chance of dying? So I guess we're gonna have to look at this in 2 ways. Like, if you're talking about like realistically, like just odds and probability wise, not going with the path of the story, who would die. You know, we're gonna have to look at like Mineta. He's a weak link for sure. Aoyama is a weak link, very vulnerable. Hagakure, I mean, yeah, I mean, if she becomes completely invisible, then she can escape things. But other than that, she's very killable, very easily. And then Kaminari, because Kaminari, once he uses like his 2 million volt attack, then he becomes like, you know, basically useless and super vulnerable at that point, very easy to die. So if somebody were able to survive the 2 million volt thing, which, you know, the stronger villains are capable of, then they would just take him out very easily. But if we're going towards like the path of the story, I think most of the students are probably safe from death. Maybe Bakugo via like sacrificing himself for the greater good or something. I can see that happening. And then ultimately Kaminari back to him, because he could be the traitor, and then his storyline could lead, if he is a traitor, of course, lead to him dying possibly or something like that. Also, after the Neo Hero Association arc ends, who in the S class will remain in the Hero Association? So we're going to be looking very far into the future, and it gets really muddy at that point because it's hard to guess what's going to happen with the trajectory of this storyline, because as of right now, it hasn't really been developing all that much, but it really seems like the Hero Association might like fall. That's what really seems like going to happen. So at the end of the arc, there might not even be a Hero Association or an S-Class left. But if there is, I assume that it will definitely be like King will still be there. I don't see King leaving. Genos will probably stay because, Saitama wanted to stay with the Hero Association. And then maybe Puri Prisoner, something like that. And then the rest of them are really wild cards because, like Child Emperor, Metal Bat, and Darkshine left. And I wouldn't have expected them to leave. And it really seems like a My Mask is going to leave too. So just for guaranteed picks, I think like King and Genos are good picks. Crusader Deus Vult asks, Deus Vult Z, I've been a sub for a while now and watch your vids every day. I posted a question last week but didn't get in. I'm sorry about that, Crusader. Just try to get it in by like Sunday morning Eastern time. That's when I start to make the videos. So what are your thoughts on a borrow devil fruit that allows you to copy someone else's powers if you touch them? And what if this person was a bounty hunter? I think that's an awesome idea. And now that I think about it, we probably will see this in the future of the series. Now, if we don't necessarily see it like within the actual continuity of the manga, we might see it in a movie or something. And that's because I'm not going to spoil anything from Stampede, but Douglas Bullet, his devil fruit was like a power that obviously was new to the series, but it was also an existing quirk that somebody from My Hero had. And if we're going back to the Barbara fruit, that's pretty much what Monoma's quirk from My Hero is. So I think it would be incredible if this was introduced to the series. And obviously there's a bunch of new characters that we still have yet to see in the series of One Piece. Not even like talking about Wano, like stuff after that, like Elbaf, Lodestar, things like that. So I think it would be awesome if somebody had this power, especially if they were a bounty hunter. Something that really needs to be expanded upon, since we don't really get too much into the bounty hunters. Like we saw some on Sabaody, and I think after that we might have seen one or two, but they really don't get as much recognition as you think they would, considering how many outrageous bounties there are out there. But man, imagine if they like use it against a Logia or something, and what if they had comparable hockey? The possibilities are so awesome with a fruit like this, and it really does seem like something that Oda would do. Deus Vult Z, you are awesome, and Overgrown Rover is so great. He is, and I can't wait to see the future of him in the story. I really do think that he's going to be an asset for the Hero Association, namely like Saitama and then the 3A class heroes. Geruda asks, hey Shonen, who do you think would win between Hiei and Flashy Flash? If Hiei somehow popped up and was granted a disaster level, so I'm thinking Hiei, he would be pretty powerful. He's close to dragon level, definitely towards the end of the series. He's one of the fastest in the Yu Yu Hakusho verse, for sure, but he's not as fast as Flashy Flash in my opinion, and that's because we have like a better grasp of Flashy Flash's speed, and it's more difficult to quantify things like that in the Yu Yu Hakusho world. But even then, I mean, I think that maybe he would be around the level of Hellfire and Gale, possibly somewhere around there. I mean, obviously they don't have the Dragon of the Darkness Flame and all of that other crazy stuff that Hiei has, but as for just speed and power, I think they're probably comparable. And obviously we saw what happened with Flashy Flash when it gets two of those guys. I mean, I just really don't think that Hiei can match the speed that Flashy Flash has been proven to have, at least. Donie Joestar asks, what's up, Shonen? I'm new, so let me know if I did this right. I've been wanting to become a patron forever, but I've been broke. Glad to be a part of the family. So yep, you did it right, Donnie, and I'm happy to have you as a part of the new family, my friend. But my question is, what disaster level and hero ranking would you give Shimazaki from Mob Psycho 100, and who within the Hero Association do you think he could defeat? He's my favorite character, and I believe he'd be an amazing addition to the One Punch Man verse. Again, I'm happy to be a part of the family. Peace, my friend. So thank you again, Donnie. And Shimazaki is pretty awesome, and his fight sequence in Season 2, I think, when he's fighting against Taru and them, is pretty incredible as well. So he's definitely S-Class level, for sure. I mean, his teleportation ability would really give him that unique power aspect in the world of One Punch Man. He'd be like a high demon, something like that. He has really good speed, strength, durability as well, but nothing that's like telling me that he's going into like dragon level territory, especially like when he comes to terms with like Mob and Regan. So yeah, he's pretty comparable there, and I would say that, I mean, he would be able to defeat like the lower class S-Class guys like Puri Prisoner, Tank Top Master. I think he could probably take them down, given the versatility of his ability, although, you know, it was stated that it can be analyzed and you can predict what he's doing because it becomes quote-unquote monotonous. But you know, maybe he could defeat like Metal Bat too, maybe even Genos, possibly. And then the Monster Association guys, probably like the demons, you know, like the low to mid demons. Maybe he would really struggle against the high demons, and he's definitely not taking down any dragons, but he's pretty powerful nonetheless. Furukizu K asks, when you mentioned the psychic elixir that Psychos consumed in chapter 126, I got a gear turning in my head. What if the serum was formulated from the cerebrospinal fluids of experimented espers? Evil Eye was one of the Psychos experiments and was created by grafting a bunch of monsters' eyes into the skin of a Psyker, esper, got Warhammer 40k on the brain. In any case, the will of the stolen eyes apparently bolstered Evil Eye's capabilities, making him a very powerful psychokineticist. Or however you say that. He was very curious as to what would happen if we were to have eyes, both Tatsumaki and Fubuki, two powerful espers, grafted into his skin. He called it an interesting experiment, giving Psycho's tendencies to experiment on espers. Perhaps she found a way to perfect the treatment in intervening time. After creating Evil Eye, concentrating the effects of the treatment in a much more manageable and much less horrifically mutilative way. If the eyes of normal monsters could produce such a powerful buff, what could the very brain fluid of espers do? After all, it is called psychokinesis for a reason, and you'd probably be able to gain much more than residual willpower from the brain fluid than a simple eye. I think this is great, and this is probably the explanation as for what's going on here. Unless we actually get an explanation as to what the elixir was, maybe in the next 2 chapters or so, which is a possibility. I mean, I could see one doing that, but as of right now, if we just want to do the heavy lifting for the elixir, I would say that, yeah, it's very likely that this is true because, you know, like you said, it was confirmed that she did experiment on Evil Eye, putting the eyes into him or her and making them more powerful using the Esper's eyes. So it's possible that the leftover Esper people or whatever, she just drained their brain juice or whatever, and then that's how she was able to, you know, get this elixir going. I mean, I like it. I like this theory and hypothesis. It's pretty good. Water Bottle asks, hello Shonen, hope you're doing well. Today I have a Dragon Ball versus One Punch question. Usually I don't like to do either because Dragon Ball's wackadoo power scale, but I think this is one that has a weird twist. So Zombie Man versus Goku, and yes, I'm talking about current DBS Goku. At first glance, the outcome seems like Goku would win 100% of the time, but I thought up the other day a scenario where maybe Zombie Man could pull out a win. So in the Golden Frieza arc, Goku is taken down by what Frieza calls a common ray gun. So say for some reason Goku and Zombie Man fight as expected it ends very quickly. Maybe Goku takes his head off with a head flick or something, and expecting his opponent is dead, he lets his guard down like how he did against Frieza, and Zombie Man shoots him in the back with one of his pistols that breaks his own arms. Do you think that his gun would do as much damage as the ray gun and also finish the job? Is this scenario even plausible at all? Love to hear your thoughts on this strange matchup. I realize it is a far stretch, but I thought it would be a fun, interesting scenario instead of the usual Goku versus Superman or Goku versus Saitama type battle. So yes, this is an interesting scenario for sure, Water Bottle. Now, the standard Dragon Ball power scale or fan or whatever say, well, the bullets would just ricochet off Goku. He's way too durable for those. But, you know, at the same time, they kind of tried to do the heavy lifting for the writers of that sequence. I don't know necessarily if it's Toriyama that wrote that Sorbet shooting Goku in the back with that laser gun. You know, they'll say oh, he let his guard down. He let his guard down, that led to his downfall. And they'll say well, you know, that's a common theme of Dragon Ball characters. They let their guard down and then they get beat by things that they shouldn't get beat by. You know, you can say whatever you want. You can do the heavy lifting. You can fill in the headcanon. You fill in plot holes. It's whatever. No series is perfect. But it really comes down to how powerful is that ray gun. Is the ray gun in the Dragon Ball Super world that Sorbet was using, is that like an ultra powerful end-all be-all weapon in the One Punch Man world? Maybe, maybe not. Is it more powerful than Zombie Man's bullets? Probably. So I think maybe Zombie Man would probably have a better job of just straight up stabbing Goku with one of his machetes or something. I think that would probably get the job done. We do know that bladed weapons can straight up just take out people in Dragon Ball world, and they've never been really established to be made out of anything like Kachink or Kachi Kachink or anything like that. So I mean, maybe if you shot him in the back, maybe it would work. It really ultimately comes down, like I said, the comparison in powers between the super bullets that Zombie Man has and the ray gun. I mean, considering that it's like a ray gun, it's probably more powerful. But I think in theory, Zombie Man could get the job done if he has the right equipment. And I'm thinking though, like, you know, if he had like Trunks' sword or something like that, he could just kill Goku by stabbing in the back in this scenario. That's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Once again, I want to thank all 110 of my incredibly amazing patrons. Guys, I can't thank you enough for all of your support. It really does help me. And if you would like to be in next week's Q&A, simply check out the Patreon. The $5 tier will give you access to this video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.